Hola amigos de Wine News TV, les invito a conectar conmigo y con mis invitados en Wine News TV On The Go, un podcast que a su vez es un espacio donde aprenderás sobre el mágico mundo del vino a través de invitados de todas partes del mundo que nos contarán sobre sus proyectos para obsequiarnos de forma embotellada música, fuego y leones, como decía el gran maestro argentino Jorge Luis Borges en su poema Soneto al Vino. Este episodio es traído a ustedes por Planet Solar. Protege tus vinos y tus enseres eléctricos con las mejores placas solares en Puerto Rico. Las tengo en mi casa y por ello te recomiendo sus servicios. Llama a José Luis al 787-690-6444 para una consulta libre de costo y síguelo en Instagram vía JLR Planet Solar. Hola amigos de Wine News TV, el podcast. Qué privilegio regresar a mi público para hablar del fascinante mundo del vino. Hoy estoy en un salón que ustedes ya saben yo adoro, es el del Almacén del Vino de Fernández. Este es el espacio que recrea la antigua tienda que tenían los hermanos Fernández en el viejo San Juan. Hoy vamos a hablar de una marca que llegó a Puerto Rico hace un par de años ya y ha hecho mucho ruido, no solo por la calidad de sus vinos, sino por las lindas etiquetas que son muy elegantes, clásicas y a la vez delicadas. Me refiero a la marca Chloe. Estoy con el señor Daniel Kahn. Él es vicepresidente de ventas internacionales de The Wine Group y vamos a probar 3 vinos. Tenemos un Pinot Grillo de Italia y 2 vinos de California, un rosado y un Pinot Noir. Now we're switching on to English. Daniel or Daniel, how are you, sir?
Very nice to meet you. Thank you for having me. I'm
Sure.
doing well.
Sure. So when did you get in? When did you arrive in Puerto Rico?
Got in on Monday, early morning flight from my hometown of Toronto, and we got in the afternoon. Was able to enjoy some great food, a little bit of local beer, and hit the ground running on Tuesday. And here we are today talking Chloe.
And you have been to the island before.
I have. Okay. One of my favorite places that I get to visit from a work and personal perspective.
So when they tell you back home at the office, hey Daniel, you got to head out to San Juan, you don't complain.
Not at all. Not at all. Especially I'm born and raised in Toronto, and at this point it is still switching over to spring. Weather fluctuates quite a bit, so coming down here to be able to enjoy the sunshine and a little bit of warm weather along with some wine, it is never a chore at all.
That's fantastic. And you were telling me that you have some West Indies Caribbean roots. Is that the case? Can you share a bit of that? Because we're in the Caribbean,
Yes.
Of course, so maybe there are some neighboring issues between our ancestors.
Absolutely. So while I am born and raised in Toronto, my family predominantly is from Guyana.
Okay.
So we are from the Caribbean. I've got cousins from Trinidad, an uncle from Barbados. We've got a lot of friends from with Jamaican heritage as well. So we're very much a cosmopolitan group, friends and family from different parts of the Caribbean, and very proud of our heritage. So we are Canadian by birth, my friends and I, but our Caribbean heritage definitely.
So the spice, the musicality, the love of rum, the colorful aspect of your lives comes from the Latino roots or the Caribbean roots.
The Caribbean roots, whether it's love of soca music, spicy food, and definitely a love of rum. We're also very loud, and we love to laugh and have fun, but it's like I said, we're very proud.
I'm extremely loud. When I edit this interview, sometimes my wife helps me. Like we have to lower the decibels when I'm speaking, and it's horrible because I have to play with the muffle and the bars and whatever.
My wife is actually Greek,
okay.
And she thought when she married in that she was from a loud family until she met ours. And she didn't know what loud was.
The Greeks they've made movies.
Yes,
My Big Fat Greek Wedding was an awesome one. Okay, Daniel, let's go into wine now a bit. So you're the vice president, important position of a very large company, the Wine Group. But I want to understand a bit more about your relationship with wine growing up in Canada, whether your parents were wine drinkers themselves. Like, was wine around the house, the dinner table growing up?
It absolutely wasn't. Okay. As I mentioned, we grew up drinking rum. Not grew up drinking rum. When we were able to consume alcohol, we were drinking rum, Scotch whiskey, Canadian whiskey, beer. It was never really common to have wine with the
Right.
meal. In fact, it wasn't really common in our household to drink with a meal at all.
Mm-hmm.
It was something that we just kind of evolved, and it went from rum and beer into spending time with friends at restaurants, exploring different types of wine, and the palate absolutely has changed since those early days, trying sweeter
Yeah.
red blends and sweeter white wines into a little bit more serious,
Yeah.
if you can say that, serious wines from all over the world. It definitely wasn't something that we grew up drinking, but it's something that I love now, and I love to explore and learn more about wines and different regions around the world.
Do you have a wow or a, a moment where you had an epiphany? Maybe that's too big of a word for a wine, but to me it was like a parting of the waters of sorts when you had your first wine that you will never forget, that perhaps you measure all the other wines against that. Do you have that wine in your life? Like when you always remember your first kiss, your first, I don't know, the first time you fell in love. Do you have that wine in your life?
It wasn't as much a wine; it was more a wine region, and it was Burgundy.
Oh my God.
And
Okay.
when you
When did
try,
that happen? When
so
did that happen?
it was in my, I'd say maybe my late 20s,
Okay.
and we like I said, we'd started that journey learning more about wine.
Mm-hmm.
You're having some easy drinking red blends or white wines, and I was exposed to wines from Burgundy and realized the complexity and the subtlety and the different flavor profiles and the influence of the terroir, the influence of the climate. It's actually it's quite an art form.
It
and
is.
and
It
it,
is.
it's
And
it's
I'm there with you. It's my favorite region. It's
it's
just
very eye opening.
unbelievable.
Whether it's the
Yeah.
whites or the reds, the finesse that
And
those
it's
wines
such a
show.
thrill before opening a bottle of Burgundy, whether it's a red or a white. It happens more with reds for me,
Yep.
that it's a lottery. It can be like, you know, that you can be disappointed,
Yes.
but at the same time, you know that you perhaps are an inch closer to tasting heaven.
The risk
Like,
is absolutely worth the
but it's
the
fantastic.
reward. The reward is worth the risk.
The thrill, right?
Yeah.
Like, since you start pouring the color, and then certain wines you can smell from a mile away.
Yes.
It's the thrill of opening a Burgundy. And again, you know there's going to be that element of rusticity, earth, dirt, soil, a little funkiness, sometimes a little foul odor.
Yes.
But that's the smell of life, right? Blood and iron and barnyard and everything.
And it's the complexity, like you mentioned, with all those different elements are there, but it's also, I think it's easy to appreciate as well. There's the fruit element to it. It's great with food, and it's something that it enhances a meal. It can just enhance a conversation. It's spectacular region for wine production, whether it's reds or whites.
All right, but now let's get into Chloe. My first exposure, my first contact with Chloe was through my dear friend Andres Lugo, who's now he has a bigger title here, but he was the wine director for a number of years for this company. And he said, this was during COVID, I think, while I was doing remote content. I was doing a lot of interviews via Instagram Live. I remember I taught Tim Atkin how to use the feature where you can do live interviews on Instagram. And now he does court talks all the time. So Tim, my best for you if you're listening. And so I was told about this brand. I love the bottles, the presentation with the bow, very elegant. And I remember that they told me, it's a female that's behind this wine. And when I hear that, and I'm not trying to be all the pro-feminine guy here, but I do believe that women in general are more delicate, are perhaps more attentive to detail and nuance than us men in general.
Right.
I'm speaking in general, of course. So whenever I hear about a female winemaker, I immediately know that wine will have something that I like. Whether it's restrained, whether it's high aromatics, whether it's lower alcohols, whether it's a wine meant to be enjoyed with food. I just adore the fact when I hear that. Or when I hear that a CEO is behind a brand who's a female, that will have that sort of, female imprint on a vision for a wine. Tell me about Chloe, the project.
So our winemaker, Andrea Brambilla, is a phenomenally talented winemaker. She has been a winemaker for 20 plus years. She grew up in the Central Valley in California, and wine was always part of her dinner
Andrea,
table.
what's her
Her
last
family.
name?
Brambilla.
Is that Italian?
It
Brambilla.
It is.
It may be, okay.
So the table always had wine. There was always a social aspect to it, and so she grew up with wine around her and has a passion for it. But Chloe it's an opportunity for her to really let the grape varietal shine through. So Chloe actually comes from the ancient Greek word for blooming, and I think that's important because we're looking for the grape to really bloom and blossom out of the glass. It's about that true varietal characteristic. We're not hiding behind oak. We're not high in sugar. The fruit flavors, the acidity, the complexity comes through in each of these wines. And that's really what she's trying to do. It's about elegance. It's about classic beauty in that bottle.
What it should be, I mean, natural beauty. When did the project start? When was the first vintage? When did it all, come together as a project?
The wine's been around actually since 2014.
Okay.
And it is one of our most successful brands in our portfolio. It's our fourth highest selling brand. We've seen a lot of success in the domestic United States market, but my goal, working international sales, is to bring Chloe to other parts of the world. So my home and native land in Canada, here in Puerto Rico, other parts of the Caribbean, and we think that the flavor profile being, like I said, classic, elegant, and letting the varietal come through, it is easy for a lot of consumers to appreciate. It's not pretentious in any way. They're very food-friendly wines, and we
and
think
reasonably priced.
Reasonably priced
very
as well.
reasonably
We
priced.
think that
this
is a winner in this marketplace and pretty much anywhere.
All right, let's get into the first one, my friend. Cheers.
Cheers.
I always love this sound, one of the finest sounds on the planet after your children's laughter. Oh, I love the elegance here. I mean, Pinot Grigio, it's a wine that's beloved here in Puerto Rico, and it's very suited for our weather, for our climate. This is like the perfect thing to drink. But sometimes it's a little muted. Here I get nice aromatics but delicate aromatics of flowers, and you have some white fruit, a little bit of lemon zest there happening.
Get a little bit of melon as well on the nose.
A little melon, and I know that it's going to definitely quench my thirst. It's going to really make me salivate and want me go. Will definitely want me to eat something or pair this with food.
Absolutely.
Let me go for a taste. Oh, nice bright fruit,
right.
Lovely acidity.
A little bit of minerality as well.
Minerality is there for sure. The citrusy note. Oh, good acidity, and it's not sweet at all. Certain wines from California, this is Italy, and we'll get into that. Certain interpretations of Pinot Gris from certain parts of the world are made in a style that's richer. This is obviously made in the Italian style of Pinot Grigio. Maybe you want to touch on that. And it's bright. It's filled with life and light. It's 12.5 alcohol. Very nice. And it definitely pairs. It's going to pair deliciously with food. Tell me a bit about the wine per se, the philosophy behind the wine. What do you want to communicate to your consumers whenever they purchase and taste a bottle of a Chloe Pinot Grigio? And tell me about the fact that this is made with grapes from Italy instead of California.
I think that was one of the things I was going to start off with. This, while we are an American company, and the other two wines that we're tasting today are from California.
Mm-hmm.
This Pinot Grigio is Val d'Adige in the north of Italy. And I think that's important because the climate is so perfectly suited for Pinot Grigio. It's mountainous climate, the soil, the alluvial soil, great drainage. You get that minerality from the soil in what we have in the bottle. And you'd mentioned it when we were smelling the different notes that we're getting on the palate as well, there's very fruit forward notes. Sometimes you can have Pinot Grigios that are a little bit fruit forward. There's some that are maybe not as pronounced in terms of flavor profile. This one I think is perfectly in the middle. It's very light, great acidity, but there is nice fruit. There is the ability to pair. There's that minerality. It's nicely balanced, and it's a true Italian Pinot Grigio.
That's the key. You touched on that, the balance, the integration and the harmony that happens between the acidity, the fruit, and the fact that it's vibrant and zesty, and it's not diluted, but it's not rich in terms of body. It's very balanced. It's a wine that will play great second fiddle to a dish of pasta with mussels or something. I mean, I see myself, I love Italy. I love Italy as a country, been there many times. I've stayed in vineyards and wineries. So I see myself drinking. This is a dangerous wine because you can drink the whole bottle.
It is.
In a sit down.
It's
in a patio al fresco
exactly.
With some caprese.
Exactly. Great with grilled chicken as well. It would be great on a patio in the sunshine, but it's such a versatile wine, and it goes back to that mentality where we want the varietal to bloom out of the glass. So you get the true essence of the Pinot Grigio. There's a bit of that floral note as well in there, and having the grape tell its own story is what's important in this portfolio.
Very well made wine, and I think this is under $30 here at the store. I don't know the exact price, but I'll put it. I will make sure to add it in the caption, or better yet, I will put the link to Almacén del Vino and the link for this particular wine. All right, great wine. What would you pair this with? If somebody is listening in and says, "Oh, this guy convinced me. I'm gonna go buy a bottle of Chloe Pinot Grigio," what do you pair this with?
We were talking about a few different pairing suggestions. Like I said, I love the grilled chicken with a salad. I love your suggestion about the pasta with mussels. I think it's a great wine with ceviche. I think the acidity would pair beautifully. You got to have something high acidity with a food that's high acidity. So if there's a lot of lime juice and a lot of citrus notes in the ceviche, I think this would pair perfectly with something like a shrimp ceviche, fish, just something nice, light, fresh, in the sunshine, by on the patio, or with or without food, it'd be great. But if I had to pair it, it'd be ceviche.
And also, to throw a curve to our audience, maybe because of that natural acidity, it would cut through the fat of something fried, like a fritter, like a Puerto Rican fritter, like a bacalaíto,
yes,
with the salted cod component to it, and the minerality would go really well. All right, I adore, Daniel, the color of this next wine. I've had it before. I don't remember whether it's Pinot or Grenache or a blend. You'll tell me in a bit, but I haven't had this rosé for a number of years, and I'm excited that I'm going to drink it now. I am bonkers for rosé nowadays. I think that whenever I buy wines, it's at least a bottle of rosé. Tell me everything I need to know, and the audience needs to know about this beautifully colored bottle of Chloe 2022 rosé from the Central Coast.
It is a beautiful color. That's the first thing that we get. It's a little bit more of that Provence style with the pink and orange sort of hue to it. The blend, which you were asking about, it is a blend. It's not single varietal. It is mostly Pinot Noir. So there is that elegance that you get from a Pinot Noir rosé.
Oh, for sure. There's the rose, the rose hip, and there's that lovely cranberry fruit.
Cranberry absolutely comes out. But the second varietal in there's quite a bit of Grenache. So there's that fruity element, that strawberry sort of note, like a wild strawberry almost. And almost like a watermelon note as well.
Yeah.
And there's a bit of Pinot Grigio, some Pinot Blanc as well, and some a 2% Aleatico, an Italian grape that makes some phenomenal rosés.
Yes, the Aleatico, and that's a powerhouse.
It's
going to add the sexiness to this wine.
Exactly.
The Aleatico is bringing that bit of the werewolf to the after the transformation, right? All of the other grapes are very delicate, but the Aleatico,
a little bit of muscle.
Yeah, a little bit of muscle. Wow, this is a lovely wine. I'm not spitting this. I'm drinking the whole glass. Wow, it's lovely. It's fruity. And again, the key here is the balance. Everything is so well integrated. With rosés, you have best of both worlds kind of things because you drink it cold, you have the natural occurring acidity, but you also have the the crunchy red fruit,
Yes.
those notes that will start to speak about something that's darker.
Yes.
You know, the grape getting a little darker in color. And to me, this wine is very food friendly. It's fruity. It's not sweet at all, and it's a very very sexy wine.
Yes.
I mean, it's gorgeous. It's got a beautiful.
And it's not overly sweet.
No,
There is a bit
not
of
at all,
sweetness
not
to
at
it.
all.
There's a nice acidity at the end, which really cleans the palate. As you mentioned,
It's
a
fruit
phenomenal
rather
fruit
than.
wine.
Whenever I find, pardon the interruption, whenever I sense fruit in a wine much more than sweetness, to me, I qualify the wine as a natural occurring sensation of sweetness, not
Right.
necessarily added
Agreed.
sugar,
Agreed.
right? So it's totally different biting into a fruit, fresh fruit, that eating a lollipop. One
Right.
is manufactured sugar, the other is natural occurring sweetness.
Exactly. It's a great way to put it. We perceive it to be a sweetness when it's
Yeah.
really just that fruit forward nature of this wine.
It's gorgeous, and again, a very dangerous wine because you could have the whole bottle without knowing
Absolutely.
until you stand up from the table. But again, 13% alcohol, very manageable, and the the back label notes are very well. This is an explosion of strawberry, raspberry, watermelon. It doesn't say explosion. I'm adding the word explosion. It says.
I think
notes.
the next time we do it, we'll add the word explosion.
It's gorgeous. It's a fantastic wine, and I remember the first time I had it. And do you know? You said Pinot is the main varietal. Do you know it's whether more than 50% Pinot?
It is more than 50%.
Yeah, it's coming across, but it's not 100% Pinot, and that's make it very interesting to me. A wine, whenever it throws like a curveball, and it doesn't let me put it in a shelf. I love that because it keeps me guessing.
But the ability to blend, I think that's a beautiful part of winemaking. You can blend different grape varietals to get different flavor profiles and highlight different different fruit notes, the acidity. And you mentioned the aleatico, like adding a bit of muscle there at the end. It allows the winemaker to almost have a blank canvas, and they can be an artist. And there's an element of science for sure in wine, but there's also a big element of artistry. And I think that comes through in this blend with Clos Rosé in spades. It's a tremendous wine.
Pairings, salmon, very nice with salmon. But again, I would, if I'm grilling outside in the patio while I'm making burgers, I can drink this all day. And what do you?
I'm gonna throw you a bit of a curveball here too. One of the things that we pair this with is simple charcuterie, where you've got a little bit of meat, cheese, that fat, and the oil, the acidity cuts through nicely. The fruit works well. I even did this one with hamon croquette.
Oh,
the
nice.
little bit of cheese, the hamon, the saltiness. It's an easy drinking wine that can pair with a wide number of foods, or again, similar to the Pinot Grigio, on the sunshine or in the sunshine on a patio as well.
Fantastic. And again, I think it's very reasonably priced, under 30. Again, I will make sure to place the link in the caption of this interview. All right, let's get into the last wine. What can you share with us about the Pinot Noir from Monterey County?
So this one is one of my favorite wines that we produce. This is...
Want to dump one of those?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
We talked at the outset about Burgundy, actually. And this is all sourced from Monterey County in California. A lot of it comes from the south of Monterey County in a little sub-AVA called San Lucas. You get the cooling influence from the ocean, tremendous climate for growing Pinot Noir. When we said Burgundy, it's a more Burgundian style.
Okay.
So higher acidity, that earthy note as well, along with a raspberry, a strawberry note. It's just a very well-balanced wine that isn't... There is a style that's a bit more prevalent now in California to have Pinot Noir that is a bit darker.
Yeah, it wants to be a Syrah.
Exactly.
I love the color here. It's very I mean, light, but not super light. It's not a rosé for sure, but it's not that brooding black color that you say, my God,
Not at all.
this is not 100% Pinot. It may be Pinotage, but not Pinot Noir. All right, let's go to the nose. Oh, lovely, lovely. This smells like Christmas, but Christmas in Dijon,
Yes.
not Christmas in California.
Exactly.
It's Frenchy. It's a little French.
Now it's still going to be California. There's still going to be a ripe fruit note to it, but there's layers of complexity. There's that, like I said, that earthiness.
Mm-hmm.
There's that forest sort of flora you were talking about at the outset. That's not typical from Pinot Noir from California at this price point.
Yeah, and there's what I love about well-made Pinot is that it has a dignity, it has a rusticity to it. It has this soil, earth, pot of soil.
Yes.
Component to it, like a funky, like a dirty thingy happening, and then you have some anise here, star anise, and
almost like a bit of clove too.
Clove for sure, like some spices. It's like going into those, and I say this very respectfully, when you go to those Indian stores, we have these spices that hit you on the face, but not in an insulting way, subtle here. There are a lot of Pinots nowadays that it's just an explosion of patchouli and incense and cinnamon. Here is more delicate. It's there, but it's not. It doesn't want to be perfume. It doesn't want to be those.
It's not potpourri.
My wife, that's not potpourri. My wife buys these oils that are meant to calm you, and like you put them on the back of your neck, and they have like a nice aroma, but it's not like an overwhelming thing. I love the nose here. Let's give it a whirl. Crunchy red fruit. Oh yeah, nice. Little meaty, little charred. Nothing sweet. Fruity again. I'm doing a separate review of this wine. I think people should have this in front of them. And I do not know the price point for this, but if it's under 30, it's a bargain considering the equilibrium, the balance here, where everything is integrated, the tannins, the alcohol. This has to see little oak, right? It's just a touch, like a kiss of oak.
Correct.
So the fruit is coming across, and there's this lovely salinity at the end, this drying sensation that makes you want to go for a piece of something to eat. This, I don't know what's going out there. If it's a cop or something, a chopper. But this, pardon the noise in the back. I'll try to muffle it out. But this screams mushrooms. Screams something with mushrooms. And Jesus, it's a lovely wine.
You could pair this with a mushroom risotto. You could do salmon would be an incredible match with this wine. But another little curveball for you. We've done this with pork belly before, kind of cutting through some of that fat there, but also with Thanksgiving. This pairs, so Canadian Thanksgiving is in October as opposed to November in the States, but we have the same sort of meal. We've got the turkey, the cranberry sauce, the grilled vegetables, pretty much anything on the plate. And I mentioned at the outset my wife's Greek when we have lamb on the table.
Lamb, for
it's
sure.
A perfect match with lamb. This to me is one of our most food friendly wines, and I think you'll agree that Burgundian reference at the beginning was right on.
The finish is super elegant. It reminds me when a plane lands and the thing hardly moves. It's like it kisses the floor and then touches on the runway, and it's like smooth as butter. This is a crunchy, and then at the end everything sort of comes together, and it's a clean exit, a long finish, and it's a very food friendly wine. And I love when certain Pinots have red citrus notes to it, like sanguine, like a little bit of a blood orange happening there, because it's not meant to be black fruit, but rather something in the middle. It's delicious
and not high sugar. This is letting that varietal tell its own story. It is elegant. It is fruit forward and tremendous wine with food, and it's easy. It's a very easy wine to pair with.
And again, it goes to show what I said earlier. I can definitely tell it's made by a woman.
Yes.
I love this. All right. Are you guys working on anything new? Will we see something? Maybe you can throw a little anticipatory teaser here of something that we'll see in the future from Chloe. Are you experimenting with other varietals, other regions, something that you can share? Maybe you're not ready to do that, but
it is funny you mentioned that. We will have our Cabernet Sauvignon landing in Puerto Rico very soon.
Oh, from where? From California?
From California.
Okay.
And we source the grapes from 2 different regions. We source the grapes for the Cabernet predominantly from Monterey County. And it's in the south of Monterey and inland. It's a sub-AVA called San Lucas.
Okay.
So you do get the ripeness of that southern location, but there's a bit of a cooling influence from the ocean, and it just creates some very complex grapes with deep fruit flavor and high acidity. That's predominantly what the wine is made up of. The cool part is that we also get about a third of the wine from an area out by San Benito County in an AVA that's being newly discovered called Piscinas. Mm-hmm. And Piscinas is unique for 3 reasons. One is most of the valleys in California run north-south. Piscinas, the valley runs east-west. So you're far inland, so it's hot, but you get cooling influences from the ocean. The other 2 reasons, it is a ancient lake bed, so there's limestone in the soil, so there's a minerality that comes through in the grapes. The other thing that makes it unique is that the San Andreas Fault runs pretty much through the AVA. So our winemakers call it geological lasagna. There are different layers, different layers of sediment, different layers of minerals. And because of those different elements coming together, the way we term it is the south part in Monterey County is the fruit basket, and that northern piece from San Benito is the spice rack. So you're going to get a complex Cabernet. It's not big and jammy and bold by nature, by design. It's supposed to be more of like a Burgund or Bordelais style wine, where there's complexity, there's some spice.
It's not pornographic. Let's put it that way. That's my term, not yours, but
not at all.
And I see a dialing back of style because I started doing wine content in 2006 in the hype of those big, bombastic, porno, hedonistic,
hedonistic was the word.
Hedonistic wines. And nowadays I'm seeing more restrained, perhaps people looking for more fruit than oak, more terroir than makeup. And with a woman in the helm, will she be making this cap as well?
She's making it. She is making it.
I'm sure. Well, you got to make sure that in the next container you mark a bottle for Wine News TV. Just one bottle.
There'll be a case coming your way.
All right.
That wine, I cannot wait for it to land. I think
will it be here before Christmas?
It'll be here before Christmas, and I think we were talking about pairings. It's a great holiday wine.
Yeah.
You can pair it with a cheeseburger as easily as a ribeye. You can do carne asada. There's so many pairings, but to your point, it's not hedonistic. Yeah. It is a nicely layered Cabernet, and I think it's a crowd pleaser that the consumers here in Puerto Rico are going to love.
Yeah, and Cabernet is king here. I mean, Cabernet, Tempranillo, of course, because of our Spanish heritage, Pinot Noir as well. I think I'm going to do nowadays, Instagram allows for a 3-minute reel, and I used to have something called One Wine in 1 minute, where I used to do a review in 1 minute of a wine. But I think now that I have a limit of 3 minutes, all the wines have been fantastic, Daniel. Awesome. Delicious, each in its own category. I mean, the white is a perfect. It's what a white wine is meant to give you and be. It gives you, it refreshes you. It's great for the outdoors. It will go well on it's perfect on its own, but it will pair very well with food. The rosé is like best of both worlds kind of thingy. You got the acidity, but you have the mystery of the red fruit, and then the Pinot is just pure elegance. I think the unifying word for this 3 wines is balance, elegance, balance and elegance. I think Chloe wines are all about balance and elegance. They have been delicious. Last 2 questions. These are my Miss Universe questions. I mean, these are questions that, and I don't mean any disrespect with this, but these are questions that I like to ask my guests. So, if you were able to have a glass, a bottle, when you sit down with a person, it's usually a bottle. If you were able to bring a bottle of wine to a conversation like the one we're having with any human being in history, whether dead or alive, whether famous or somebody maybe in your life, I don't know, a grandfather who's no longer with us, and you could sit down with that person. You could say, I mean, Winston Churchill, William Shakespeare, whoever you want, Jesus Christ. Who would you have a bottle with? And more importantly, which bottle would you bring to the conversation?
That is an interesting question. I think one of the people that I thought of immediately, and it was funny you mentioned it would have been my grandfather, someone I never got a chance to meet.
Okay.
He passed away in Guyana when a good portion of the family had already moved to Canada and a few people to the United States. And I think wine, it brings people together. It is very social in nature, and we've hinted at it. You can have it on its own in a conversation. You can have it with a meal, and meals being very social, and we have conversations and heart-to-heart conversations over meals. And I think getting to know my grandfather would have been something that I always wanted to. It's something that I'm never going to be able to do.
What was his name?
His name was Majid. Yeah. He
never say his name. He'll be with us for a bit. Majid Kahn.
Yeah. No. He was on my mom's side.
Okay.
But the ability to sit there and have a glass of wine. He wouldn't have been a wine drinker, but I think he would have appreciated it because it was something that I've dedicated my life to, and he would have been.
Of course.
I know just from what I know of him that he would have been interested to sit there and share a bottle of.
Which bottle would you bring? You can tell me. You don't have to say a brand. And it doesn't have to be Chloe, but a region or a grape. What would you bring?
You know what? It's funny. We talked about Burgundy being that eye-opener. The area that my wife and I have fallen in love with recently is Tuscany.
Oh, yeah, of course.
The wines from Tuscany, I said, it would be over a meal. The Sangiovese grape can be made into so many different styles of wine. And it's elegant, but it's very food-friendly at the same time. And I would love to sit there with a Super Tuscan, or a Brunello or something that we can just have over a meal and savor and learn more about his life and the challenges that he faced, and frankly I never got to meet him, so there are a lot of questions that I have, and I would do it over a bottle of something from Tuscany and a good meal.
Beautiful answer. And my last question, so let's say a thief who does not want to steal any property. He doesn't want to steal your watches, your money, your electronics. He's a drunkard. And this thief breaks into your house, and he only wants to have access to your wines. He wants to steal your wines. And if the thief gets access to your cellar, what would the thief find there? This is a stupid way of me asking you, what do you drink? But don't tell me the wines that you get. You're in the industry. You probably have hundreds of samples, friends who have gifted you wines. Tell me the wines you pay with your moolah.
Yes.
Wines that Daniel Kahn buys. What would the thief bring back in that bag?
It's not going to surprise you because we were talking about it over the last half hour or so, but the wines we brought back from Tuscany were wines that we paid for. They're wines we fell in love with.
Of course.
The Burgundy selection is pretty solid in there, and I love Northern Rhone wines.
Oh yeah.
I think
whites,
but more so the Syrah.
Of course. Yeah, Hermitage and those are
Saint Joseph, very underrated. The funny thing was, you mentioned at the outset the eye-opening wines and regions. I grew up, learning about wine. Australian Shiraz was something that they're big brands, and it's easy to find at a restaurant or at somebody's house. So I thought that's what Shiraz or Syrah tasted like.
Right.
When I first tried Crozes Hermitage and Saint Joseph, the eyes open. There's that little more of that pepper note, less fruit, some earthiness. There's just so much complexity.
Charred meats.
Yeah, there's that smokiness to it as well, that gaminess, and there are wines that I will seek out. I will throw in the cellar and leave for several years.
I asked the question because a lot of thieves listen to the show. So for all thieves in Canada, if you like Burgundy, if you like Rhone, if you like Tuscany, go to Daniel Kahn's house. You can steal there.
A couple of gems.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you for this. This has been fantastic. The wines are all balanced. They're delicious.
It's an honor. Thank you for having me.
Sure.
It's been a lot of fun, and it's an honor to be here with you on the
A pleasure, and count with my support, and we'll see each other at a big event that's happening tomorrow. Mi gente, acabo de entrevistar al señor Daniel Kahn, una gran persona, un gran conversador, con mucho conocimiento, mucha sencillez, mucha humildad, a pesar del cargo importante que ocupa en una de las compañías de vino más grandes del mundo. Lo más importante, vengan a descubrir los vinos de Chloe, el Pinot Grillo, el rosado. El rosado es una mezcla de Pinot Noir con Garnacha, tiene algo de Pinot Blanc, algo de Aglianico, que es una uva tinta del centro de Italia, que es maravillosa, y el Pinot Noir, todos deliciosos. Y creo que se puede llevar los 3 vinos por menos de $100. Tienen precios muy atractivos. Gracias por su sintonía. Thank you, my friend. This has been fantastic.
Gracias.
Recuerden suscribirse al canal, compartir esto con las personas que ustedes entiendan puedan sacarle provecho, y recuerden que en el mundo del vino lo más importante no es la meta o el destino, sino el viaje y el recorrido. Será hasta la próxima. Nos vemos. Este fue el episodio de hoy. Recuerda dejarnos una reseña para que nos ayudes a crecer, suscribirte y recomendarnos con tus amigos amantes del vino. No importa cuán avanzado estés en el recorrido de enamorarte de aquello que decían sobre el vino. Son uvas transformadas en poesía. Aquí hay espacio para todos. Salud y, como siempre, dale share. Recuerden que este episodio fue traído a ustedes por Planet Solar y a mi amigo José Luis, a quien puedes llamar al 787-690-6444 para una consulta libre de costo para que pongas las mejores placas solares en Puerto Rico en tu casa y así protejas tus vinos de cualquier interrupción eléctrica. Síguelo en las redes en JLR Planet Solar.